Hello and welcome. We are from IAAS. My name is Seth Martin. These are my teammates Ella McCoubery and Coda Voth. To start off our presentation, an update on our optical observatory. We have the ceiling panels designed and installed. The building at the moment is fairly empty outside of that, but we do have red lights installed so that while we're working on with the telescope, our night vision is not inhibited. Uh, we also plan on installing our Clave telescope for higher magnification of things like the moon, stars, and planets, Jupiter specifically.
We'll be doing uh, radio research on Jupiter in tandem with the optical research to compare what we're hearing and what we're seeing from Jupiter. We're also going to be doing some deep space research. These are not our pictures, but hopefully we'll have some of our own soon. We're also going to be doing solar, ionosphere, pulsar, quasar, and supernova research, among others. We've spent a very long time working on the inside of our radio astronomy building. As the art team, we created the ceiling panels and the wall panels using a variety of techniques, mostly spray painting. We used bowls and cups to create the shape of the planets and did a lot of splattering to make the stars. And to finish it all off, we clear coated the whole thing, and I'm very excited to announce that it is now completed. The whole inside of our radio astronomy building is completed and it is operational. I know the tech team's going to talk some about the stuff that's going in there. We're also working on the conference center at IAAS. Um, Sorry, lost my train of thought. It's going to be a place where we can present to the public, and we're also going to have a research library there, where we can come together as a team and research. We are going to have a super cool space hallway leading up to our conference center, where we're going to have the floors, walls, and ceiling of the hallway painted in a lot of the same way that we have the ceiling of the radio observatory and the optical observatory painted.
And then at the end of our amazing space hallway, we are going to have a couple sets of doors that are going to look like you're entering into an airlock. And at the end, when you exit our airlock, you're going to be entering into our spaceship, which is our conference center / research library. A couple of our techniques that we have used on the doors is tape to keep our lines nice and crisp. The color on the doors are spray paint, and we have done a lot of drawing to help keep our angles nice and symmetrical. And don't worry, no pencils have been harmed in the process of making these doors.
And to end our part of this presentation, here is a image of the ceiling in the radio astronomy building from the floor looking up.
And now we're going to hand it off to our tech team.
So here is our computer rack in our radio astronomy room. We'll be putting computers to help with the research on deep space, Jupiter, and solar work that we'll be doing in here. Here is where we will have all of our referencing materials, so manuals, star charts, stuff like that. Books. Here is some of our equipment. There in the middle, we've got two oscilloscopes, SID computer and monitor, which my colleague Joe here will be talking about later. And here is another image of the rest of the building. We've got a it's a dual tape recorder and an equalizer on top of it right there, as well as a radio to record with it. Here is what my colleague Joe here will be talking about.
All right, we seem to have skipped introductions by accident.
This is Tristan, and I'm Joe. So as this, okay, and Brent. We've also got Brent. Okay, okay, I'm gonna head back a couple slides. The radio receiver you can see on the left is out of the recently collapsed Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. Okay, we have a lot of projects going on at the same time, as you can probably tell. One I'm particularly excited about is SID, or the Sudden Ionospheric Disturbances, and the antenna we're using for this is a spiderweb style antenna with 420 feet of cable. We are monitoring. So the purpose of this project is to observe the effect of the sun on naval communications. So submarine naval communications. Here we have our first data, a spike at 20,000 hertz. The way we're going to monitor this is we're going to monitor any dips and spikes in said transmission, and then we're going to have a separate system that will monitor solar activity at the same time.
And that isn't the only project that's running about. At the front of our shop, here we have a VHF radio. I will talk about it in a second. Here is the setup of radios we have up at the front. To the right here, we have a HF radio that has been hooked up to a dipole, and right above that is a automatic antenna tuner, so that way it can tune frequencies a lot faster. And in the middle of there is our SkyHub Link radio. I will be talking about that in a second. To the leftmost of that is a standard VHF radio that we have to monitor the eastern corridor of Colorado for any emergencies. Here is our SkyHub link. Well, SkyHub. This allows us to communicate across the world. It is connected by an Echolink and various other modes. So that way, anyone who has a SkyHub can transmit and then be connected to anywhere in the world. We will be using this to communicate with various schools, colleges, and universities to collaborate on research.
So here is the remote station that Mark was demoing in the back that we are hosting right next to our space communications console. So it's for the Tech 285 ham group. It's really cool. It's a really cool radio. You should go look at it with Mike if he's still doing the demos. So here is the antenna we used for the summer 2024 contest field day. Yeah. It's got four band antenna. It's 40 meter, 20 meter, 15, and 10 meter. We were able to receive well over 1,000 contacts with it just on that one field day. We recently took it down for coax. We needed to harvest it, so it's been gutted now. Here is our space communications console that's right next to the remote station right there. I'll hand it off to Joe to talk a little bit about the equipment inside of it.
All right, this has been my pet project for the last 3 years. It is okay. So you can see there's a middle band of embedded instruments and then a bottom section contains a ICOM 910 dual band transceiver. Okay. Back. Yeah. 3 SWR meters, 3 power supplies, 3 speakers. Now azimuth controller you can see up in the top right. And then down in the middle we've got the Yaesu FTM software defined radio. That's a transceiver. And unfortunately, we're not currently able to use it because the program we use to control the radio, the latest update was released 2 months before the release of the FTM 400. So it's not in the records anywhere. The functions of this console, you can keep going now. Right, all right. Okay, the previous team member who graduated and abandoned us. That's Kai. He was part of the presentation last year, if any of you remember that. He was I got nothing more to say. He abandoned us. So he's dead to me now. What we're using this for at the moment is ISS and SATCOM. Tristan did a presentation on the gpredict software program. I don't know how many of you have heard that. Yeah. We have results with it and it works beautifully. It automatically tunes the radio. Gpredict, yes. It automatically tunes the radio with uplinks and downlinks from the satellites, and it automatically adjusts for the Doppler effect. So the history is quite an interesting one. It's a repurposed Titan I nuclear nuclear missile launch control console. Apparently, they just offered it to Jim, and he said yes, and sat under his porch for a few years, and then we decided to repurpose it into this. So it's kind of interesting how we're repurposing a highly destructive force into something highly productive. The build process was quite interesting because we had to gut it, and being however many years old it is and sitting outside, it accumulated quite a bit of dirt and things that prevented us from gutting it. One screw at one point took 3 weeks to get out. WD-40 bolt cutters ended up stripping it out. I don't remember how we got it out, but we eventually got it out. We got all the electronics out. It was a huge mess that we had to clean up. And then we built the top cabinet so that the whole top half is all a wooden cabinet that we built on top of it and then bolted onto it. Funny story. Apparently, it's lopsided by like a half an inch. One side is a half an inch taller than the other for no apparent reason. Just woodworking, you know. The instrument panels, the bottom is all metal panels, which do not match well if you try to switch them with the wood panels on the top, as we found out. They don't match. The monitors, especially on the bottom, were a real pain to try to put in because we were working with something that already existed rather than building something to purposely fit the monitors. It took, you know how you have plan A, plan B, plan C. We ended up on plan J or so before we managed to secure them properly. Wiring. And then we've got just a great cable management, I must say. Not bad. I've got to congratulate you on making it not the absolute mess it used to be. That's the good version. That's the good version. I think you're next, right?
So just real quick, Hoda Voss on the art team designed all of those screen wallpapers you see right there. Did an amazing job at them. She asked us to not forget about that. So, skip past the slide. So this is, you've got, I put 2 Linux machines here and here, which are connected to 2 monitors each. Got 2 Windows machines there at the top and the bottom. One is running our SDR that we use from the SDR play that was in the last presentation. SDR Uno? Oh, that was SDR play. Well, it's one of them. It works amazing. We love it. We will be using that SDR to receive weather sats. So that will be really fun. More wiring. That took 2 hours to clean. Little extra. Here's you can see the SDR there at the bottom. Yeah. So here's the antenna we're using for the ICOM 910 that's in the console. We've got a dual band, so it's a dual band radio. Got a 2 meter and a 70 centimeter egg beater antenna on it that we have just put up. It's 20 feet up in the air on the pole, connected by to just I think it's galvanized aluminum. It's a metal beam. 2 10-foot poles. We've got it. See if I can get a better image. I got 2 guy wires, one at the top and one at the middle there where they connect, where the 2 beams connect. Right here. So here's it fully put up. You can see these 2 meter egg beater antenna right there, 70 meter egg beater right there. Got it guide up here at the top with 3 cables going down, and here at the middle with another 3. We had a ton of extra coax cable that needed to get sorted out. It was a huge mess. More cables to organize. Here's a much better image of the antennas. You can also see the 2 buildings over here. Here's the radio observatory and our optical observatory right here. Here is our first reception of the International Space Station with the ICOM 910. Will it play? It's that last slide right there.
Just like to quickly mention, this is using the gpredict software you can see up in the bottom left window.
Victoria, 06 Foxtrot Echo Uniform, Delta Mike 37. 37, 2 officers, 6 steps off, that's right, 7594, that's okay. Something? 6 steps off, that's right, 7594. 6 Charlie X-ray, 06 Foxtrot Echo Uniform. 2 officers, 6 steps off, that's right, 7594, that's okay. Delta Victor X-ray, 06 Mike 03, Los Angeles. 00 Delta Golf X-ray, 73, thank you. Whiskey Delta 5, Golf Romeo Whiskey, Echo Mike 36, Missouri. Delta 5, Sierra W, Whiskey Delta 5, Golf Romeo Whiskey, Echo Mike 36, Missouri.
Does end, I promise.
5, Golf Romeo Whiskey. Foxtrot Alpha Hotel, Delta Mike 34. November, taking 6, Foxtrot Alpha Hotel, USL, WE5GW, Echo Mike 36. USL, Delta Mike 34, thank you very much. That's great. 6 Alpha Hotel, 06 Foxtrot Echo Uniform. 06 Foxtrot Echo Uniform, 6 Foxtrot Alpha Hotel, Delta Mike 34. Alpha Bravo, 0 Lima Radio. Alpha Bravo. Hotel Alpha Bravo 0 Lima Radio. It's Delta Mike 78. Delta Mike 78.
And we have loss of signal.
So the GPREDICT software doesn't automatically interface with the radio. It has the stuff built in to do so, but you need another piece of software called hamlib to account for any issues that could occur. That took a little while to figure out, but it works. We were using Linux here with the GPREDICT software and the ICOM. Now it's
We've had a lot of auxiliary offshoots this year, just other stuff we did. Aforementioned Kai, who abandoned us. He went down to Arkansas to see the solar eclipse earlier this year, and he ran into a man from the Navy force, was it? Okay, Naval Academy in Annapolis, and who had the full setup for the eclipse. And he was so impressed, Kai ended up running the entire system for the eclipse. And the results speak for themselves. That one is my personal favorite.
Not that I know of.
No, he's interning with NASA. They couldn't pull him away.
And what you see here, is our team up here in Strasburg, setting up to also view the eclipse. Unfortunately, we were not able to get a totality, but we were setting up to experiment with some of our telescopes. Here we have a image caught by a telephone that was looking through one of our solar scopes. And here we were experimenting with some of our opticals to project the eclipse onto a piece of foam board. And that is our smallest lens as well, to make it as crisp as possible. So
And this is an image of the moon that I was able to capture, as well as being on the art team. I also work with the imaging systems and the cameras that we have at IAAS to capture stuff through the telescopes. This is some pictures that were captured during the recent auroras. My family and I were able to go view it not too far from our house, which is in Bennett, right near Strasburg. It was really amazing to be able to just watch it. First time I've ever seen it in person, and it was definitely worth it. Just being able to see all the different colors and the way it changed was just incredible. See some pictures that were taken.
His finger and all this.
And now I'd like to introduce to you our awesome Professor Jim.
Thank you, team. The solar eclipse, we had 3 teams out. Well, actually, we had 4 teams. We had the team that stayed at the lab and worked the eclipse optically. And they were doing some H-alpha work, hydrogen alpha imaging that you saw up there on the screen. We also had Kai in Arkansas working the equipment from the U.S. Naval Academy. And then this young lady, Joe and Ella here, he is. I was just testing you to see if you were asleep behind those glasses. Okay. Anyway, they went with their family to outside of Dallas. Was that right? Fort Worth, wherever. Anyway, it's Texas. Anyway, they were there and doing optical work, but the side benefit of the actual expedition for them was that they got to work with the public and share with the public what was actually going on scientifically. And they got to see the images and everything. I believe you were showing them the images too. Is that correct? Right. And then myself, NASA sent me down to outside, just north of Austin. And at the time, 2 years ahead of time, we tried to find for the team, we were going to take the whole team down. And hotels were $700 a night without taxes, surcharges, and tourist fees. It would have been about $780 in Texas. anywhere in Texas. And anywhere, especially along the central eclipse line. And then we have a daughter or a son and daughter-in-law in Liberty Hills, Texas, 30 minutes north of Austin. And we didn't have to fight the crowds. We stayed in the backyard. And my operation in this whole process was collecting radio data. And so we were doing the SID, the sudden ionospheric disturbance work, and we're doing it in conjunction with the U.S. Naval Observatories and Stanford University and NASA, and also comparing the WWV time signals. So we had two systems set up there outside of Austin, and full time, an hour before the eclipse, an hour after the eclipse, and looking at what the atmosphere is doing. And it was very interesting, the data that we collected and collaborated with other observatories and the U.S. Naval Observatory. So it was very successful all the way around. Our program is based 3 miles. Most of you know, or some of you know, that we're about 3 miles east of Strasburg, Colorado. And we're out in the middle of ag country. And it's interesting to see all the city folks moving out there and complaining of the ag smell. And we love it because we have about 40 acres. And if you Google map the address for the observatory, it actually does not list it as a residence. The government actually has us listed as the Starhaven Observatory IAAS Astronomical Research Facility. So we're pretty proud of that. These students work very, very hard all year long, all the time in getting their skill set up and other things. And we want to let Steve know that, by the way, I do work for the National Radio Astronomy Observatories, one of the radio astronomers for them. And the reason we're using your SDRs is because the big boss, in fact, came to me and said, we'd like you to try something. And that is, we'd like you to take a look at this SDR and see how it works. So we're actually going to use the SDR not only, well, on the Space Console, it's specifically going to be used for WeatherSat, direct lake WeatherSat, and not a fax from a ground station. And then in the radio observatory, we're going to be using it specifically for looking at the hydrogen clouds between us and the black hole in the center of our galaxy. And we're going to be looking at other phenomenon up there at the 1427 megahertz. And we're looking at using it for pulsar work, which is very faint, very, very faint. Normally we use anywhere from 150 foot dishes at Green Bank to the banks of 85-foot dishes at the Very Large Array in New Mexico. And here we're using ham equipment. And that was the challenge for our group, by the way, from the NRAO. And that was, can you do what we do without spending $135 million for one instrument to collect that data? And they wanted us to test out the SDR. And so far, I've been very, very impressed. And I've only learned a smidgen. That's a scientific term, okay? You know, from scientists like myself, we have this this high class vocabulary. So the doohickey that you invented or you've got there, I've only learned a smidgen of how what it's capable of doing. And so far, we're very, very impressed. The reports I've sent back to NRAO from our testing has been very, very, very exciting and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. The NRAO is the National Radio Astronomical Observatories. Google. Yeah. So our team actually works for NASA. I'm a NASA scientist and also a scientist for the DoD. I'm still trying to find a neat, instead of Department of Defense, calling it something else. But very proud to work with them. And we're not working, we don't work for the DoD in so much war applications. We're not in that. We're doing astronomical work for the U.S. Naval Observatories, specifically in their submarine communications. And they're noticing that the sun affects their communications with the submarines underwater. And if you want to hear what slow code, if 5 words a minute bugs you, how about ah, okay, get the idea? Now, of course, they've gone to digital encryption and everything else, which is still slow. Okay. Because they're transmitting in the area between 10,000 hertz and 30,000 hertz. And that's to penetrate the water. But the sun really wreaks havoc with their communications. So our task is to monitor and to determine at what point on the sun's activity, how that activity affects that communication itself. And so we're very excited because our radio astronomy building is now operational and we will be doing all kinds of really cool stuff with that. That Arecibo receiver, by the way, was given to us, and the insurance pay on that, should it get broken, is $80,000. And it looks like an antique, but when you visit our radio observatories within the NRAO, you will see that modern equipment looks ancient because it works. Actually, our engineers and some of the companies like the defense companies, they look at us and they say, what do you need? We say, we need a radio to do this, this, this. And so they design it and it works. It's really fabulous. And what's really a blessing for us is that my student staff, they get to play with really cool toys. Okay. And so anyway, that's about it. Do we have any questions? Yes, sir. I have homeschool, private school, and public school students. And we are international because once in a while we do get countries that specifically send some of their students here on a what they call the foreign exchange program. And they are specifically sent here to be in our program. And we've had them from all over the world and whatnot. But we had another question here too. Had a couple. Yes, sir. George. Yeah, one of my high school students a couple years ago actually was hired by NOAA out of high school full time in the engineering department. Okay, that was Tate.
Yeah.
Tate, yeah, Tate. And then Kai, who just graduated, Kai is at CU Boulder, and they put him in the honors aerospace engineering dormitory. And he's taking honors aerospace. We have students in aerospace. I have pilots, lawyers, plumbers, electricians, construction workers. But my main purpose in this is to have my students learn good work ethics and good work skills. And that's why these companies are hiring them prior to master's degree. And it's all them. It's not me. I just, on my shirt, I should say under here, general janitorial services. Okay. So everything you see there, like that space console, I didn't touch it. None of us had touched it. It's all Joe and his team. We told them what we wanted, and they said, okay, boss. And they went ahead and designed it and built it to our specifications. Yes. No, but they get work and education resume credit, so to speak. And yeah, no kidding. We our graduates out of high school, the aerospace companies especially want them, and universities want them because they've been trained to use equipment. They're not afraid to push buttons, if that makes sense to you. What we're finding, and I've been told by the aerospace companies especially, is that the reason they hire my kids over master's degree, even masters going to PhDs, is because those folks, they know how to use a computer. Nothing else. These kids go, oh, buttons, dials. They're not afraid to use the equipment at hand, and they are taught, actually, they're allowed to work together and think out project challenges. And once in a while, they do come to the adult staff. Bernice over there, Bernice has been with me in my program since 1989, and my program has been here. I started the program 47 and a half years ago. I'm hoping the good Lord will keep me around for 50 years with the program. So anyway, anybody else? Well, thank you all very, very much. It was an honor to be here with you.